Welcome. You are listening to The Travel Winds, hosted by Pete Kotzbach. This is a weekly interview show about people who travel for work and all the ups and downs that go along with it. Here we go.
Hey, welcome to the Travel Winds podcast. Today, my guest is Svante Johansson from Think Culinary. How are you today, Svante?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate the time. Yeah. If people are watching on YouTube, they're going to see the beautiful kitchen behind you, but can you give the listeners kind of an idea what Think Culinary and Svante do on a daily basis?
So Think Culinary is we're an importer and master distributor in the food service space. So we import specialty proteins from mostly Australia and New Zealand, but also from Spain and a couple of other places. And then we sell it to distributors that sell it to restaurants. That's really our business. We provide support for our customers, the distributors, by having chefs on staff in this kitchen that you see right behind me.
Yeah.
Where we help them become better at selling the products and building sort of kind of, we call ourselves the sexy of a restaurant menu. You know,
Gotcha.
Sell products from smaller producers from different areas with different growing methods and feeding. So it just provides a very different kind of eating experience than what you normally would get, like in a steakhouse, for example.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated when I check out your website. I'm sitting there going, okay, Tasmania is another location, and I'm sitting there going, the questions I have are, did you start the company so you could travel, or was travel an ancillary to the niche that you found?
I would say that we started the company because we felt that there was a need for better representation in natural meat, specifically grass-fed. We thought that there was a growing category, and that the quality was going to eventually improve. We recognized that the quality of grass-fed historically wasn't the best. It was sort of kind of like was healthy versus good flavored, and we were put in contact with this company from Tasmania, Green, that have the Cape Grim product, grass-fed product. And we just blown away by the quality and by the scope and the ability for them to consistently produce naturally world-class beef on pasture. And the byproduct of that is that I've gone over there, with the exception of COVID, obviously, every year, bringing customers with me so that they can experience Tasmania and understand why the products are so good. And so that's been a tremendous amount of fun.
How long of a flight is it to Tasmania?
So you fly out of LAX, you fly into Melbourne. That's about a 15.5-hour flight, sometimes 16 if you're unlucky. Then there is another about a 50-minute flight from Melbourne to, you can even go to Hobart. In our case, we go to northwest Tasmania. So it's a place called Burnie. And then you drive for about an hour to get into kind of the heartland of where our farms are located.
Cool. So had you ever been to those places before you started this?
No, I'd never been to Australia.
How did you sit in were you in Sweden when you did this, or were you here in the States?
No, I've lived in LA since 1993. I came out to go to college, met my wife. She didn't want to move to Sweden.
There she.
Santa Monica, and I did a lot of domestic travel here in the US during my previous career, and did some when we started this company as well. But no, never been to Australia before. Well, and I consider myself somewhat of an expert,
Yeah, I mean now, but how do you sit down and go? Did you know anybody in Australia or Tasmania or?
No, it's an interesting story actually.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who works for a large distributor. They were approached by Cape Grim to import and sell their products. He goes, "We can't do it. It's not our business, but I know a guy you should talk to." So this goes back a few years, and they contacted us and we met with them. And that's when my partner and I, he's a chef, when we go like, wow, this is great product, but we don't have the money or the bandwidth to do this. So I kind of sorted in the back of my head and saying, who knows what the future holds. Fast forward a couple of years, we were in a different situation, and we had another distributor everybody of ours contact us saying, hey, we want to start selling meat, but we don't want to sell the same meat that everybody else does. And immediately that popped into my head. So I called them, just basically cold called them, saying, hey, I'm Svante from Los Angeles. I want exclusivity on your products on the West Coast, but if I do, I'll bring you a $500 million distributor partner. And the owner, Peter Greenham, was quiet for about 10 seconds.
I was going to say.
And then he goes, we're not selling anything there anyway, so sure, why not? Yeah. And that is the agreement, a handshake agreement that has lasted for over 6 years and is flourishing. And we've since then moved on and added other packs. They still remain, and they are our launch partner on this Herd and Grace event that we're doing.
That's a pretty cool story, though.
Yeah, it's a very different way of doing business. I mean, I'm used to long contracts and can and cannots, and this partnership from day one has been, how can we help each other grow? And they are the ones that invest in having us fly over customers all the way to Tasmania. Wow. and do the farm tours and visit the plant and so on and so forth. So it's been, we've been very lucky, really.
So let's put it. I'm so curious. You have basically, because the flight from Melbourne to Tasmania is like going from here to Vegas. It's not bad.
Yeah,
right? 50 minutes.
You just fly over water the whole time instead of desert. That's basically.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know which is worse, but you want to get stuck? Do you want to crash in the desert where there's no one around, no access, or do you want to crash in the ocean where?
Neither sounds like a good option, if you ask me.
I'm with you, but you have 2 15-hour flights, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do for 15 hours on the planes? Especially when you have potential customers with you.
A
long time to be on.
I usually travel out about a week before my customers do, because I go and have some meetings and I see friends, for the week prior to. So I'm prepared when they come. We're ready to, but when I fly, the good thing is the flight for Melbourne leaves at about 11 o'clock at night.
Sleep.
So I try to sleep. That is one trip where I think it's worth to invest in the business class or upgrade the business class. Certainly that leg, because when I get to Melbourne, I start working right away. Yeah. So, I go take a shower and then it's a full work day, and it just kind of keeps going like that for 2 straight weeks. And then by the time I fly back, I'm just pooped. So
how many days do you request to not go out, not do things?
I usually have like 1 day each week that I can kind of like just do my thing. But no, this last time I was there in November, it was all day, every day for 2 weeks. Yeah. It's eating steaks, eating lamb, drinking good wine. I mean, it's very hard. It's hard life.
But that's not what you tell your friends and family back home, right?
Oh no, they know it. They see the photos and everything. I mean, it's a tremendous perk of doing, to be able to travel and see another country. When you travel as a tourist, you see it as one way. When you travel for business and you travel to meet with people, it's just a very different experience. And I can't think of a better thing to do. I love what I do. I love to travel and I love people. So, I'm just very fortunate.
That's awesome. I mean, because I try and tell that to some people too. When I travel to all the different states and all that, it's work. It's like, even when I go to Hawaii, my wife's going as a tourist. But I'm sitting there going, okay, well, I got to get this, I got to get that, I got to plan that, I got to do this. There are many perks of going to Hawaii for work,
right?
But it's still work, and I still have to get things done.
Working, and it's hard work. I mean, it's you fly out like this last time. I flew out to see our lamb supplier, and they, it's kind of up in the highlands, right between Victoria and Queensland. So Victoria is where Melbourne is, and not Queensland. Okay. New South Wales is where Sydney is. So right on the border, there's a little town called Gundagai. There's only one flight that goes into this town called Wagga Wagga. One flight, direct flight, 20 seats or something like that.
Yeah.
every day, and then there's a 2-hour drive. And again, I mean, it's intense. You go there, you meet with people, you got to remember, you got to take notes, take photos.
Yeah, you got to be on point.
And and they are very proud, as they should be, of what they do. Almost every person that we work with and they live in their business. So you don't want to shortchange them. You don't want to kind of like blow them off and not pay attention. So that,
well, it's not like you can go, hey, in 3 weeks I'll be back, right?
Right. It's
a finite amount of time.
Yeah, it's a one-time shot, and but again, when you have the passion for it, when you I can just walk around on farmland and look and pull up the grass and look at the roots and ask them what the annual rainfall is, and again, I'm in heaven.
Yeah,
because all kinds of ideas pop into my head, or and you do things differently, and you learn so much. Especially the Australian farmers are very well educated in their craft. They have university educations, they have master's degrees, and that's the same here in the US as well. But we work with the Australians, so that's my reference point. But it's just so educational. I mean, tomorrow you're going to be here. We're going to have on the Zoom call one of our farmers in Northwest Tasmania. He's going to stand in the pasture, and he's going to talk a little bit about what they do there and how they do it, and what and if you ask me, that probably is the most beautiful farm in the world. I can't imagine. I mean, he's got 12 miles of oceanfront pasture.
Yeah. I said there's a farm on Kauai, on the north side near Princeville, and it's and the road separates the beach from the ranch. But I mean, there are cattle. I mean, they're looking at beachfront property the whole time with
Hawaii is actually one of those places that I would hold at the same level as Tasmania. Very, very different ecosystems, but still uniquely well positioned to grow animals for livestock.
Yeah. I always tell people, Parker Ranch, when Hawaii was annexed, Parker Ranch was the largest single contiguous ranch in the United States.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what, in Hawaii? And I go, yeah, right underneath the volcano that has snow, and they go snowboarding. What?
I just drove through there a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. I was up I was at the Big Island, and we drove across up over the mountain just because we're gonna go zip lining.
Oh, through the saddle, the saddle road.
Yeah. And actually, the most fun for me was to drive across the island because to see the farms.
I know that's crazy. We end up stopping because I used to have 2 stores in Waimea, which is right in between Hilo and Kona,
right
on the north side, and so that's where I go for work. But then I'm driving around looking at all the horse ranch properties, on the way. She wants to go look at the beach, and I'm like, I want to go look at I get out and stop talking.
I love the contrasts of the beach and the mountains, and I mean, that's what kind of makes the ecosystem so intriguing and interesting. And that actually comes back to a little bit of the philosophy of our company. It's just we look at 3 separate things when we select partners to work with. Number one, never is quality. Quality has to be either best in this category, world class, or top 3. Kind of the old GM model of doing business. The second is that it has to have a real story. It has to have a story about why they do what they do, how they do it, how long have they done it. And then the third part is when you take the quality and the story and put it together, it's got to be a value. So the price point has to be aligned with quality. So most of our products are quite expensive, but we still consider them very good values for what they are.
Well, it's all relative, right? I mean,
exactly. And
I know shipping to Hawaii is very expensive, so I can only imagine shipping from Tasmania or Australia to
so we do both. We do sea freights, which is less expensive, and we do a lot of air freights. We're air freighting. Everything we do is fresh. I mean, all our beef products, I should say, we air freight and sea freight fresh. They have very good technology in Australia. The shelf life on fresh packed products is 120 days, and it is actually mind blowing that it is 120 days. We've done testing on products all the way up to 150 days, and the products we've done. But you know, so that's another part of our story, is that in our food service environment, everything is fresh.
Well, during COVID, I was just trying to think, because we were talking about freight. You know, how rough did it get for you guys during COVID with the restrictions that Australia and Tasmania had?
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
Early on, it was, you know, there was no passenger flights, but the Australian government
Right.
actually gave the airlines money to keep flying
For products.
So there was a couple of commercial flights, because we use mostly commercial flights, actually.
Sure.
Yeah, that kept flying, and we would fly over up to 35,000 pounds a week early on, which is, you know, not what we want to do. I mean, we want to do most of that on sea freight that's better for the environment and so on and so forth. But at the time, we just had to get products. There was no, and the sea freights were so backed up over here, in especially that it just, you know, it was just impossible to do fresh products. We did some frozen products during COVID. We sell quite a bit to schools and universities, some of our lower price lines. And that product we had sea freighted over for a period of time, frozen for a period of time. And that was the only way to do it, to stay cost effective. But it was an interesting time. But I tell you, what's strange is that made our company so much better. We had to work very hard to find new customers and new markets and new products to make up for the regular business, the restaurant business that was pretty much dead for a while. And then when the regular business came back, we were able to recover that business and keep what we have done during COVID.
I've heard that so many times. I mean, I can tell you, our company was the same way. We had our best year ever in, let me think, like 70 plus years was last year.
Yeah. It's for us, by far, last year was the best year. And I mean, I woke up one morning was it March of 2020, and realized that I'd lost all my business.
Yeah.
Like every single distributor canceled their POs, basically closed their doors for the time being. And I'm like, okay, what do we do now?
I was in the exact same boat. Yeah.
But somehow, you know, I worked harder than I ever have, I think, in 2020 and 2021. But it's paid off. I'm very pleased.
Well, that's, you know, I have the exact same story as March 2020, and my territory is Hawaii and California. Well, the two strictest states in our country, right? And so I only get paid when the product gets shipped. Well, when the stores aren't open, there's nothing getting shipped to them. Therefore, I'm not getting paid. And I'm talking to my wife going, I don't know what we're going to do. But, you know, thankfully I had two internet companies that literally exploded. They're internet only. And just, I mean, it was Christmas time.
We discovered e-commerce very quickly. And
then I had one national account. And so when Texas stayed open, and Florida and some of the other states, North Dakota, and I was like, thank gosh, you know.
Oh, and again, absolutely the same experience. If it wasn't for Arizona, Texas, and Florida, we would have been in a much worse spot. I mean, they came back strong early and needed products. I mean, we would have people call us saying, do you have beef? Yeah.
Yes, we do.
You have beef, you would sell it. And that's sort of, and that's how we expanded out of, I mean, because we were only California, Nevada, and a little bit Arizona before COVID. And that's
Scottsdale and some of the restaurants there. Or distributors, I guess. So and so now you're bigger and better, faster, leaner.
I'd like to think so. Yeah, we've expanded quite a bit. We've gone from, so in 2019, it's a young company, mind you. So 2019, I did 4 million, and then we did 5 million 2020. So we actually grew our sales during first year of COVID. And then we went from 5 to 10, from 10 to
Wow.
17 this
Oh.
2021. And the run rate we have right now, we should be about 22, 23.
Oh, that's huge, my friend.
Without really, I mean, we could do more if we have access to more products. If you know, the economy doesn't. So far, knock on wood, the economy hasn't really affected our category.
Yeah.
So you know, we're going to keep running and hope that they never catch up to us.
Well, that's always the scary part. Is, you know, I want the economy to dip but not drop.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, no, it has to. I mean, listen, there's a cycle. These things has to happen.
It's just the way it is.
You know, what we recognized is that most of the restaurants that serve our products, most of them, they're pretty recession proof, because it's the people that go to those restaurants, frequent those restaurants, they're never going to be short of money. And you know, I don't know exactly how I feel about that all the time, but that is just the truth of our, you know, it's and we're thankful for it. So,
I mean, like, you know, I sell a lot of cowboy boots in Western clothing, but the people, a lot of my customers, the actual end users, are using it daily, like in the fields and for work. So whether there's a recession or not, they're going to wear boots and jeans when they're working, which means they're going to wear it through them, which means they need to buy new ones.
You know that if you're an Australian and you work at a farm, you have to wear a Williams boots. That is, if you're in the meat business in Australia, that's actually, I think it's a requirement. I don't think I've ever met a farmer that was not wearing Williams boots.
That's crazy.
Or anyone in the meat industry in Australia. Always. First thing they do is they look at your boots and they go like, "Oh, Williams, well, you're legit."
Yeah. You're the real deal. Yeah, I get that a lot too. It's like, yeah, it's just there's a lot of interesting little quirks. And when I first got into the Western industry, I knew none of them.
Right.
So I just tried following what everyone was telling me to do. But now I can look at somebody and go, okay.
Yeah, nice. You know, believe it or not, my favorite. I mean, I've always loved boots. It's one of those things. Growing up in Sweden, you know, like a Swedish teenager, you're walking around in American-made cowboy boots. That's what we did.
Yeah. Well, the biggest customer for Hawaii for my stores was Japan.
Yeah.
They would come over on the boatloads, literally. I mean, just either with the cruise ships or and then they'd get on buses and just do shopping trips.
That's funny. That's funny.
And they would just buy. I had one story said they would get a busload of people in every morning from 9 to 10. They would open up their store just for the bus, and they would do their day's sales from 9 to 10, and everything else after 10 was extra. And it was all Japanese tourists.
Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting with the global economy, and that's what we're seeing. You know, the premium Australian meat companies really weren't exporting to the US. The product that ended up here from Australia historically was medium to low quality. It was price driven. It was grass fed for people that needed to have that in ingredients, processors, things like that.
Sure.
So we were one of the first companies. I don't think we were the first, but one of the first companies that actually kind of changed that paradigm and came in and saying, no, you should not be buying this because it's inexpensive. You should be buying this because it's good. And it was a big shift, especially obviously here in the US, where the domestic meat is so good and so abundant, right?
Yeah.
And say, hey, we got something completely different. So early on, nobody wanted to talk to us. And then slowly but surely, as chefs started experimenting with it and really taking to it, it's just kind of like grown from there.
Well, I almost think, I'm trying to think of some of the restaurants I've been to lately. You know, I think a lot of restaurants are looking for reasons, you know, to say that their meal is going to be different. So if they can say they have a Tasmanian grass-fed beef, then you're willing to pay the $50 an ounce or whatever.
And you know what's interesting is that, you know, we're never going to be that middle of the menu. Like, you know, if most of our customers are steakhouses. That's an interesting, you know, but they sell prime USDA steaks, and then ours is complementing it.
Yeah.
And often it turns out over time to become more popular. than some of the regular offerings. And so that's sort of kind of, we know our place in that category is that we round out. We're the sexy on the menu.
Yeah.
I think you're down in Orange County, right?
No, I'm in Redondo Beach.
Redondo Beach,
just by LAX.
DSP Steakhouse. Have you been there?
Mm-hmm.
They carry several of our.
Oh, man, they
do an amazing job.
Yeah, I'll have to. God, where are we going? We're going to a Japanese place. I'm gonna look. It's in LA, right by the Magic Castle.
Yamashiro.
Yeah.
Yamashiro's, yeah.
Now, has that got any of your meats yet?
I don't know. I know that Magic Castle has bought products from us in the past, and they tie together. They're the same ownership, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, they're right next to each other.
Yeah. So it's possible. It's possible. They do buy from a distributor that one of our distributors. So it's possible. If they do, it's probably the Wagyu.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's probably the Wagyu if they do it.
I'm going there Saturday.
It's a beautiful place.
Date night. So
yeah, no, that's a good date night. Well done.
Yeah, I had no choice. Wife's like, "You're going out of town next week, the following week, right?" And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Date night." I go, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah. Smart.
Do you have any of that?
A lot. I just celebrated.
I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks, honey. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just celebrated my 25th wedding anniversary, and the truth is that my wife she doesn't like traveling that much. She travels because I love to travel, but it's like she's not been to Australia yet, for example.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
But she, she takes care of the kids and stays behind, and she knows that I sort of kind of have to get out and
have to.
Yeah, I mean it's work, but she knows me well enough after 25 years to know it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's so without her, I couldn't be doing this. I couldn't be running this company and so on and so forth. So she tells me date night, I just go, where do you want to go?
That's right.
Yep. That's you get what you want.
Exactly. It's I always tell people I can go, hey, I'm going to Hawaii. I got to go, to see I'm open. I'm like, well, I didn't tell you when I was going.
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, I'm open. I go, well, I have to go to North Dakota too. She goes, I'm busy. I got to work.
Strange how that works, right?
So I'm really shocked that she hasn't made the trip over to Australia yet.
I think we're going to try to do it next year. My partner actually just left last night for the first time. So he started right before COVID.
Oh, wow.
And so haven't had the chance to go over yet. So he brought his wife. They're going over there for 10 days to visit farms. And I think they're going to do some wine tasting and things like that as well. So they'll have a good time.
It's a good deal.
Yeah.
So have you been over to Spain for your meat producing?
I have been to Spain before, and I have visited Extremadura. So I've been there. I haven't visited this. I'm going this spring.
Nice.
To visit it, and I'm very excited about that. I mean, again, a country with amazing food culture, fun, interesting people. The way that they raise pigs there is so different from anywhere else. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. Several times they've tried to export Iberico breed pigs to the US and raise them here for domestic consumptions. But what ends up happening is that it's just too much fat. They feed them too much high, energy feed, and it's just fat. There's no meat. Whereas in Spain, they figured out how to properly balance that out. So you get the marbling, you get that tenderness and the flavor, but you do get a lot of meat as well. So it's a balancing act. It's not more is better. It is the right amount is better.
Well, and it seems like with the Wagyu beef, the marbling, that became kind of a trend, or like I never knew about the meat and marbling and all that. It's like, so whatever you guys did as the meat producers, the distributors, it worked.
It's an interesting phenomenon because I mean, I've known of Wagyu and I've sold Wagyu before.
Yeah.
But we tried to launch a Wagyu program in 2017, a world-class Wagyu program, and we couldn't get any takers. Nobody really was interested. And then COVID came around, and again, people started ordering steaks to be delivered to their house.
Yeah.
And it's early adapters on e-commerce adapters. they were able to get Wagyu, and all of a sudden there was a shortage, worldwide shortage of Wagyu.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 years, we've launched 3 Wagyu programs, including relaunching the one that we didn't successfully launch in 2017. And it now represents almost 50% of our sales. And we just can't get enough. And it doesn't, I keep thinking that the other shoe is going to drop. This is a trend that's going to, but it doesn't seem to be that way. People just love that marbling, and they love the luxurious feel of it.
I think it became something to brag about.
Yeah. I think that still is.
Yeah.
Actually, it is.
Oh, I'm going to have the Wagyu. Oh, you got to have the Wagyu. It's so great there,
I mean, it's one of those things where it says something about you, right? It's just like ordering a nice bottle of wine in a restaurant.
That's right.
And people, they're not going to eat a lot of that at home, so they go to a restaurant. They want that unique eating experience. I mean, we do a lot of business in Vegas, and obviously that's perfect place for it.
You sell to the Bellagio?
I don't think we do right now. We were selling to Harvest when that was open. We might be selling to one of the outlets in there. They're a part of NGM, and NGM has a very tight procurement policy that they don't deviate. We do sell. We sell. Where do we sell? The Winds, the Encore. I mean, we do sell many places. So I don't want to miss. But actually, interestingly,
I had some Wagyu at Bellagio Christmas time, so I was like,
it's that's an try to move it in a different direction a little bit, but that is an interesting comparison between U.S. The beef industry here and Australia. So here in the U.S. there are a lot of independent small Wagyu producers that just sell locally and so on and so forth. But on a scale, there's maybe 4 or 5. And they're all very similar in what they do and how they do it. In Australia, there must be 50.
Oh, wow.
It's a much smaller country, but they have they're about 10 years ahead of us, I think, when it comes to draft protein. If you call it that, the independent, they're independent abattoir packers, they're independent farmers that kind of go together in co-ops, and they provide people like us with enough product where we can take it to the restaurant market and tell people they're not going to run out, or they can have this on the menu, and so on and so forth. So that's a perfect example of the Australian the meat industry.
That's huge.
How everybody seems to somewhat be independent, but yet working together for the common sort of kind of growth of the industry.
Well, I mean, it's like, people don't understand. Canada is roughly, population-wise, it has less than California.
Yeah.
So imagine, it'd be like trying to get all the farmers in California alone to get on the same page.
Yeah. It's very different. And it is both. I mean, for us, it's very good, right? We love the idea. We look at beef like most people look at wine, where the flavor and the texture and the juiciness all depends on so many different factors. And when you go there, you see this live. You can have a steak and you go, this is not better or worse, but it's different.
Yeah. And
it works better with this sauce or this seasoning. And that's fun to me. That is fun because I was a chef originally, and I'm able to sort of kind of use this as a way to stay in the business without having to work the nights and the weekends. Like that.
Yeah. And I always said, God, where were we? I forget where we were at. And I'm like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't get yelled at, screamed, the busyness, the hecticness. There was that Brad Cooper movie where he's gonna be a chef in Paris or England. Yeah. And I'm like, nope. I want to be getting knocked out. Someone talking to me like that. It's like, nope, can't do it.
No, it's a rough thing to do. It's fun. It's just like, again, I mean, I'm very competitive, and working in the kitchen is sort of kind of like sports, right? And sales, to me, is an extension of that. I love selling, I love to be in sales because it's competitive. You do well, you're rewarded. You do poorly, you pay the price.
Yeah.
And there is no, win or loss comes back to how much did you sell? There's no there's no trying. It's just you either do or you don't.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's why I like talking to entrepreneurs, because even if you're, any kind of business that you're an entrepreneur, you're a win-loss situation.
Right.
You're either winning or you're losing. It's like,
right. I mean, you can't like turn around and go like, hey, someone else can. No, I guess I got to take care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Is that something was your wife excited about the prospect? Like,
I think that she's been both excited and frightened, depending on
good choice of words.
Yeah, I try not to take the work home with me too much, and I've learned over the years.
Unless you're doing 17 million, then you're like, hey, honey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing 17 million, and I'm just as worried as I was when I was doing 4, though. I mean, that's it's
like
not.
You said, you're waiting for the shoe to drop, right?
Well, also want to make sure it's profitable, and you want to grow the company and invest in the infrastructure, and I love being an entrepreneur. I absolutely, love it. But the price that comes is that I'm always thinking about it. One way or another, I can sit and watch a movie and I'm at the same time thinking about this shipment that's 2 days delayed. And, I gotta, but that's the price you pay. And my wife, she knows. She can tell when I come home. Maybe I'm a little bit quiet and I don't really want to talk about my day. So she knows it's been a rough day, and the other days I'm better. But what I've really learned over the years is that don't get too high when things are good, and don't get too low when things are bad. Because as long as you keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, it will all even out in the long run. If someone comes with you,
definitely comes with age, right?
Yeah, comes with you with too big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's too good to be true. Usually it is too good to be true. There is something that's going to happen there. And if something is really bad, it all works itself out. Every January for us, we go down 50% in sales what we did in December, right? That's just the way it is. So every January I freak out.
That's how you start your
year. I know that it's going to be okay.
You should change your calendar to be like, the start of the year be March or something,
Yeah, I mean, it's like, go dig a hole somewhere and put my head in it for a couple of months and come back out again when things are better. But, but then again, January and February are great months to
do your trips and
do new things. I mean, for us, and again, what you're going to see tomorrow, Herd and Graze is something that we're very excited about. We put a lot of thought and expertise and money into building this e-commerce platform that we're very, very proud of. I mentioned earlier that we went e-commerce during COVID, and the product was great, but everything else was bad about how we would do it. We didn't know how to, and if they say that you learn from your mistakes, I now have I have a master's degree in e-commerce because I made every mistake in the book, and we took that experience and what we learned, and we applied it to this launch. We hired a company to run it. They're e-commerce specialists and marketing company to do it. And that's why we're excited. I mean, there was nothing worse than when you'd get a phone call from someone that didn't get their FedEx delivered on time, or they left it at the wrong place and it thawed, and you had to, and we credit it, but people they trust you to deliver a good product.
Sure.
You're responsible, and you take it personally when it doesn't turn out that way.
When we got really busy with e-commerce, all of a sudden I was real busy because it's the same way. They're Christmas presents now. They're weddings.
Yeah.
They all want white boots. So I'm like, if those white boots don't get there on time, I'm going to ruin their wedding. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, you when you started, you're like, this sounds like a great idea. And then the reality hits you straight in the face. And I mean, we enjoyed it, and we especially enjoyed having a direct connection with consumers and to be able to sell directly to consumers and reach people in different areas than otherwise wouldn't. But this time, we're doing it right. You know, this is a very, very premium program. Only the best of the best of what we can find goes into the box. The box itself, I mean, to kind of put it into perspective, the box itself with the packaging and everything is $20. Just
Yeah.
It'll hold steaks frozen for 72 hours all day long. We've done testing on it. You can stand on the box and it will not break.
So you're not worried about getting crushed. And
yeah, and those are the things that we looked at, that we're not going to skimp on the details. We're gonna go all the way out to make sure that everything is covered and that everything is good, so that when these people that paid this much money to just get some steaks,
they're going to show up.
It's going to show up and it's going to represent what they expected. So I'm very, very excited about it. It feels almost surreal that the time for the launch has come.
Yeah. I'm going to throw this out. I'm going to just throwing this out to you. I love the use of how you use craft proteins.
Yes.
Like a craft beer. I love that. I have a friend who was on the show. He's a guest. He has an app on his phone because he loves craft beers. So wherever he travels around the country, he can pull up a craft beer distillery or whatever, and he goes to a different place, and then it keeps track, so he doesn't go to the same place twice. Like when he goes to Chicago multiple times, or New York or Atlanta. You put a craft protein app together so people can say when they go to Scottsdale.
Bad idea. And there are, I mean,
there absolutely.
There are so many great farmers and people here in the US. They just fragmented. They need something like that, something that can kind of like bring it together into one place where you can see it. Because you know, you go up, you know, to Chicago, for example, Illinois area. I mean, there are some amazing farmers up there and amazing people up there doing amazing things, but nobody over here in California will ever find out because we're over here. And again, I think that's a little bit what they've done well in Australia. It's that they sort of kind of gotten together and said, hey, we know we're technically competitors, but you know what? The rising
There's enough for everybody.
All boats.
Yeah.
So let's help each other out and grow from there. And they benefited from it.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, like, I just went to Dallas 2 weeks ago. You know, if there was an app where I could pull up a Wagyu beef restaurants and say, oh, let me try that one this time, because I'll be back in August for work again. And maybe I'll try that one next time.
Yeah, they got some good steakhouse in Dallas too.
Yeah, they do. So yeah, I mean, and you know, I'm going to Phoenix and Scottsdale in a week and a half. So what's a good restaurant there? I'm always doing that when I'm traveling.
Steak 48. Or Dominic's in Scottsdale, both carry our products.
Okay.
They carry our Wagyu, they carry our grass-fed both, and our Iberico. Actually,
what that is your what?
Iberico, the pork.
Oh, the pork. Okay.
Yeah. So that's Steak 48, Dominic's, and then we have quite a few places. The Four Seasons have our products in Scottsdale. So I mean, that kind of gives you a good idea of customer. Actually, we have a tremendously good working relationship with True Foods, and they're all over the place.
Yeah.
But all the beef that's served at a True Foods kitchen comes from our farms.
See, you got to come up with the Think Culinary app so business travelers can follow.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, we're not. You know, I thought I was a good marketer when I started this company, and I've learned over the years that, you know, you either go on this side of the road or that side of the road. I'm middle of the road type of a guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are the things that we still need to learn how to do better. You know, how to present ourselves to the public and to the industry. We now have gotten to the point where we will have suppliers from different parts of the country or in the world contact us because they want to be a part of our portfolio. So that was step one. We do have a tremendous working relationship with about 25 different distributors, and that's growing. And that's a result because we do spend quite a bit of time making sure that they get the support they need to learn how to sell our products, because our products has to be sold and presented.
Are the distributors nationwide?
Yes, we do business. I mean, I would say that about 70 to 75% of our business is in California and Nevada.
Okay.
But that number is percentage wise falling because we're growing in different areas. We're in Chicago, we're in Miami, we're in Scottsdale, we're in Houston and Dallas, San Francisco, Seattle. I mean, so we're all over the place now, and we are known as the craft protein company, and people know we do our homework.
Trademark that before my show comes out.
I think that's someone already has. I tried. We wanted to have it as sort of kind of the thing on Herd and Grace, but I use it all the time. That's my, and the beer comparison is absolutely spot on, because when I moved to the US in 1993, there really wasn't any craft beer. I mean, Sam Adams had just come out with their Boston line.
Yeah.
And that was
a big thing.
That was a big deal. And, there was the Liberty Ale, the Anchor Steam, but really, there really wasn't anything. And see where we are today. But if you would have talked to someone back then, like a beer executive, for example, saying, hey, I want to do this craft beer thing, they would have laughed you out of the room.
And then some.
Like, no, we're doing just fine with Budweiser, MGD, and Coors.
Yep.
Right?
We're good.
Yeah, they would not have, and we think that same development is going to happen with protein, with specifically with beef, because 80% of the beef that's produced in this country is produced in feedlots where they have the same feed, whether you're in Texas or in Nebraska or in Washington, it's the same. So it is always good. It is always good, but it's hardly ever great. And that's what we'd like to change. Okay. That's what we think that the space is for growth.
It's amazing, because I don't know if you were to talk, because like I drive up and down the 99 freeway and the 5.
Right.
And I go by Harris Feedlot, and they're the in and out suppliers of beef.
Right.
And then they also do steaks and everything else. But if they're all eating from that same lot, then that meat's all going to relatively taste.
It doesn't matter if you're at Harris Ranch or if you're at in Colorado, it's all the same. It's I mean, I don't know enough about the U.S. business to know if there's any proprietary, but from my experience and from working with this for 25 years, it's all the same. It's all good. It's all good, but very, very seldom is it great.
That's a good way to put it. So you're not offending them because you're saying they're good.
No. I mean, it's
great.
To kind of build on that grass-fed story that we started the conversation with. When they first approached me, I laughed at them and said, I hate grass-fed beef. I prefer corn-fed. This is the US. What you're bringing isn't going to work here. And it wasn't until I actually tried the product that the paradigm shift started to happen.
Gotcha.
Because I didn't like grass-fed beef, and because most of the grass-fed beef that I had came from old cows that wasn't producing it more calves, so they just called it grass-fed. So today, I can't tell you the last time I had a traditional prime steak in a steakhouse.
Wow,
because it's just
hard to go back, right?
Well, no, it's good.
But not great.
It's not great. It's not something that makes me go, wow. And trust me, it's time for our steaks are like that as well.
Yeah.
But there's almost always a wow experience. It's almost always a, wow, well, that's interesting.
Wow. Well, now I'm super excited about tomorrow.
See tomorrow.
Yeah. What do you think? I'm just curious, because the reason I was asking you about did you travel to Australia before and all that is because a lot of people I talk to about the show, my show, they're like, well, I would love to travel, but I don't know what I could do. And so you didn't start this because you wanted to travel to Australia and Tasmania and Spain, but boy, it sure worked out for you.
Yeah, no, it sure has. And now I am looking at different suppliers based on where they're at, so that I can travel there. I mean, not just so I can do it, but that's certainly
whether it's Japan or wherever. Yeah.
When we're looking at new products and new lines.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, we'd love to get some more products from New Zealand, because that's a place I want to visit.
Yeah. My daughter she went there a couple of years ago with a friend, and phenomenal.
Yeah, no, and again, it's very similar to Tasmania, I think, in because they're in the same latitude, but bigger and probably even more grand, I would imagine. It's I mean, again, traveling for business, when you get to do what you love to do, is
it doesn't suck.
No,
that's what I always tell people. It's like, it's a lot of work, but it doesn't suck.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
If I sat in an office every day, it'd be rough for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I spend more time in the office now than I ever have, and I need to teach it. And I'm not even good at it. I mean, I should hire people to do that, because they can do it much better, much more accurate than I can. And my gift, if you will, is that I love people, and I love to learn and teach. So
that's why I started my podcast. That's exactly right. I mean, it's kind of crazy, because the name Travel Wins came up with. I used to get so focused on my sales numbers, right? So I drive 6 hours to go up to San Francisco, and I have my accounts. I'm sitting there going, okay, I got to sell this much, make this much. I would break it down, like, how much is this trip going to cost me? And it just stressed me out, because I had 6 hours to think about it. So I started traveling around saying, okay, well, what's over here? What's down this road? And then I would go on my phone and Google museums or, locales. And then I would stop for a half an hour and look at a mountain range that I never bothered to look at before, and find things just to break up my mind and give me a win before I got to my appointment.
I should do more of that.
I had to. Yeah.
I should do more of that, especially here domestically. I mean, again, when you travel for business and you go see, you get that to a certain degree. But when I go to up north, for example, or I drive places, there's so much to see. There's so much to do.
I've seen so many, and so, like, I always post some pictures of, here's a church that a guy built. It's near Paso Robles. He literally built a Catholic church on a hill. It holds probably 40 people. He has a service every Sunday. It's open to the public, but it's on his private land, on the top of a hilltop, with just a view that's incredible. And you're like, if you drive down the freeway and don't do that, you'll never see it.
Never see it.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
So I try to create a win without.
Exactly. So travel wins. I get it now.
For me.
Travel wins. I mean, because it is valuable, and it's one of those, you can't really put a dollar figure to the value of the experience, right?
Well, man, if you drive in California, I've seen so many accidents in front of me or behind me. I mean, blown tires off big rigs that were directly in front of me, and you're like, and then it just pulls off, but these tires are just flying through the air. Me getting through that with no harm, that was my win for the day. So it didn't matter how much I sold.
Yeah.
Because if I would have been going about 10 miles an hour faster, that tire would have came right through my car.
Oh God.
And you sit there and you go, God, that close. So my win that day was not getting destroyed by a blown tire.
A good win, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I can kind of hear the same thing with you.
Yeah, I mean, again, as you get older, you get a different perspective on life. I mean, I grew up in Sweden. I always wanted to move, and I don't know if I was thinking about living for always in the US, but I always wanted to come to the US. I always wanted to come to California, and I got here, and I made a life here, and the US and California and LA has been very good to me. Yeah. It's allowed me a tremendous life, and I still go back to Sweden 2-3 times a year.
Sure.
To see my family, and I still got that grounding. But it's life is it's worked out just the way it's supposed to. That's the way I see it.
Right. That's how I feel about COVID too. I mean,
yeah,
I couldn't tell you how much. My wife was a Pilates instructor. They closed all the studios down. Like, and then I wasn't shipping to any product. I was like, we're screwed. Like,
And she started doing online Pilates, and people like my wife never went back to the studios. They still do online Pilates.
yeah. Yeah, and everything kind of worked out. You know what I mean? Just like I said, my online sales were enough to get us through it, and everything else.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was stressful.
Oh no, it was hairy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the best way for my listeners to kind of follow you, or before you come out with your Think Culinary app?
So, you know, on social media, either
Okay.
at Think Culinary, which is our main company, but tomorrow we're launching Herd and Grace, and there will be a tremendous amount of information coming through there over the next few months, and different ways to cook steaks and different sauces and season, like we talked about, you know,
Yeah.
you're going to buy, and you can join as a member on the site, and that means that when you buy it, you'll get discounts, and you'll get access to product that we're not going to have on the website necessarily. Okay. So that's a good way of doing that. We have a weekly newsletter.
Will there be a website for Herd and Grace?
Yes, there is. It's actually active.
Okay, I didn't know.
Already they activated it yesterday, because we're doing some testings and making sure that when people buy product, we actually get the money and they get the product.
It helps.
So yeah, so it's active. So I would say for the general public, that's the best way to do it.
Okay.
And the products there, I you know, to mention Herd and Grace, just a couple more things about it is, you know, this is not your everyday meat beef replacement store. This is special occasions. You're going to have a party, you want to show off, you want
anniversary, 50th birthday,
and also a very big emphasis on customized gifts giving.
That's what I was going to say. It'd be a great gift.
Yeah, so the way I see it is that you can buy 6 bottles of good wine for $300 and give us a gift, or you can give them 10 world-class steaks. That, you know, what I'd rather get the steaks, I think, and it will come to you in a beautiful box and in great condition, and with ways for you to prepare it, and so on and so forth. So I think that's probably, for us, you know, special occasions and gifts are the 2 main focuses for Herd and Grace. That's really where our focus is. And you know, hey, if they can afford to buy our steaks every week, we love them to do it. But that's, we're realistic in our approach to that.
I think the gifting, because like when you were starting to talk about it, I'm like, well, I'll get one for my son-in-law, who is the chef.
Yeah. You'll see tomorrow. I mean, that really is. And you can customize a note that goes into the box from you to him. Yeah. Basically saying, hey, this is my gift to you, so they know who's it from, and all that. And I just know that I've had people send me different gifts, right? Not steaks, but similar things. Like someone sent me a box of truffles, and that sticks with you, right? It sticks with you. They go like, oh, that's really nice. That's different. You know, they're not just sort of kind of doing what everybody else is doing, and we'd like to be in that category. We like to be. You know, you really want to show someone that you like them and that you appreciate them and you value them.
See, now you got my brain kicking again, because now I'm thinking it'd be a great corporate gift.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's really what we're hoping to capture. Originally, when we started this back in January of 2021, the idea was to be launched and capture the corporate gift giving business in 2022. Yeah. And it took us too long to get started. So we'll be ready come this fall, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'm super excited. Thank you so much for the time. I can't wait to meet you tomorrow, because I'm
looking forward to it. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to come on the show, and I look forward to, I've been bragging to everybody I was going to be on a podcast. So. Send me the link when it's ready.
Oh, you got it. It'll be a few weeks, but
yeah, sure, I understand.
I got the Super Bowl thing coming up, so
a small little thing.
I get to go to the Super Bowl for the media day.
Oh, you are?
So I'm going to go interview some people as they're going
Oh
around.
my God, how fun is that?
I don't know. I'll let you know. I'm pretty excited.
All right.
So
Good.
yeah, that'd be fun.
Good seeing you tomorrow, and
Right.
yeah, come hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop eating now.
All right.
Thanks again for the time, Svante.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Bye bye.
Bye.